Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of your UFC Hot Takes. As always, if you want to be in these videos in the future, go to my community tab on my channel and find that designated post and leave a comment underneath that, and you have a very high chance of being in that following video. We've been getting a lot of comments recently, a lot of hot takes, so I can't get to them all, but if you want a higher chance of being in that video, go to my Twitter at KYND1E Kindle with a 1, link in the description. Leave a comment under that post and you will have priority and will probably be selected to be in the next hot take video. But let's not waste any more time and let's dive right into your guys' hot takes. Starting off with, we have Conor could actually be holding a belt by the end of 2024, depending on how the UFC books him. Now, is it a possibility? Anything is possible in the UFC, but do I think he will? No. And by the end of 2024, I think it's less than likely. Now, he will get some UFC favoritism, and if he does beat Chandler, he definitely will get a high-ranked matchup at lightweight. But, I mean, does he really beat anybody that's highly ranked at lightweight? Does he beat an Oliveira? Does he beat a Poirier again? Even that? Does he beat a Sarukian? Does he beat a Gaethje? I just don't see it, man. Conor's been out for so long. I can see him beating Chandler, but I think that's the end of the road of Conor McGregor once he does beat Chandler, if he does beat Chandler. Shavkat beats everyone in welterweight, and nobody can change that, not even Khabib or God. So, I mean, we're getting really hot takey here, but I don't know, man. Shavkat, to me, like, he finished Wonderboy, and Wonderboy has not been submitted in his career ever. So Shavkat was the first person to do that. But I mean, saying that he beats everybody in welterweight is pretty lofty, bro. And if you've been in my channel for a long time, you know how I feel about Shavkat fans, or that 1% of them. Shavkat's really good, and he can definitely be a champion down the line, but I don't know if he beats everyone at welterweight, man. He probably beats Bilal. He probably beats, Colby now, because Colby's trash. Holy shit. I'll get to that probably later. He probably out-grapples an Ian Gary, but I see Shavkat having the belt if he does fight Ian Gary. But Leon Edwards might be kind of iffy. I don't know if he does beat Leon just yet. Maybe he can out-grapple him because Leon can be taken down, but I don't know, man. It gets a bit risky at that point, and I'm not 100% certain that Shavkat beats Leon Edwards. But I do see your point, man. I think he does beat a lot of the top 5 guys and the majority of the guys at the top of welterweight. And I think anybody in the rankings right now, currently, I think Shavkat does beat him. But it's risky, but we don't really know how great Shavkat is. Beating a 40-year-old Wonderboy, it's a good win. He submitted him, like I said before, but is it the most credible win of all time? Not really, but he's getting up there, man. I can see the hype around Shavkat right now. I just don't like some of these fans, bro. But moving on. I'm sorry, Trill Cosby. This one didn't age well. You probably should have submitted this after 296, but it is what it is. I at least appreciate you giving me your hot take. Colby Covington is never winning another fight, and you gave me a list of everybody who would beat him at that time. But yeah, I agree. I think Colby is done. He looked old. He looked slow. He had a terrible game plan against Leon Edwards. His personality has lost a lot of fans. I don't like Colby now. I used to be somewhat of a fan of him, but now I don't like Colby at all. So in terms of just like strictly fighting and who he matches up against, I mean, I think he loses. That little style that he had against Leon Edwards was probably one of the worst game plans that I think anybody has had coming into a title fight in a very long time, or at least in recent memory. He looked terrible, like absolutely terrible. I don't see him beating anybody at the top 5 of welterweight, and some of the guys who trickle down into the top 10 or top 15 of welterweight, I think he loses to them too. And I think if Colby does go on a losing streak, he's not going to want to stay around for too long anyways. So I think he might retire before he goes on that massive losing streak, if he does go on one. Maybe he can turn it around somehow. By God's grace, we can see Colby just get a win against somebody. Maybe he just had a really bad performance. I don't know. He took 2 years off, but he needs to stay active, man. Like, that's probably why he lost to Covington. One, the game plan. Secondly, he was so inactive. This guy never fights. So if he stays on that never fighting attitude, I don't see him winning another fight in the UFC. Sean O'Malley gets stopped by Chito. Mark my words. I don't think so personally. I don't think Chito has necessarily any one-punch KO power to really chin O'Malley or the ground game to submit him. I can see Chito maybe winning decision where he wins the later rounds, because if you don't know Chito, he gets better as the fight goes on. So I can possibly see Chito winning by losing those first 2 rounds, then making a comeback and winning the last 3. But I know Chito has power, but Rob Font, who has been notoriously chinny, he chinned Frankie Edgar, who is notoriously chinny. Dominic Cruz, who is kind of a chinny guy, not the chinniest we've ever seen, but Dominic Cruz doesn't have the most granite chin of all time here. So, I mean, dude, Chito Vera is only really KOing dudes who are kind of chinny and have a notorious history of not having good chins. But if I'm picking Chito to win, I'm thinking he's winning by decision. I think he'll come back in the later rounds, probably the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round after dropping the first 2 and making a comeback, because he does get better as the fight goes on. But outright probably stopping him, I don't really see it. And I think this style lends itself more towards O'Malley because he stays at range, he picks his shots, he's a very intelligent fighter, he's a very fun fight style, and I think that will lend itself to him picking apart Chito. But Chito can make a comeback in those later rounds, but I don't see him stopping O'Malley. It would pretty much shock me, not like crazy shock me if he head kick KOs O'Malley out cold, but it would definitely shock me if he does manage to put down O'Malley by some sort of stoppage, maybe by, a 1-punch KO or a TKO, maybe like that. The double champ requests have gotten out of hand and Dana should make rules. I agree. I think some of these champions who are like newly crowned champions saying they want to win one fight, defend their belt one time, and then move up to fight somebody else in another division, I think it's dumb. I think you need at least, bare minimum, 3 title defenses before you even think about moving up to a higher weight class. Everybody nowadays wants to be this Conor McGregor, but nobody is Conor McGregor. You're not going to get this lovey-dovey treatment by the UFC and just be able to move up after winning one fight or just getting the belt. No, we have to be realistic here. You're not a big enough name to be double champion. You have to earn being a double champion, and that's by defending your belt multiple times. The only reason you should move up is because you cleared out the guys in your division, and there's nobody else that makes sense right now to fight you for your own belt. So you move up to challenge somebody else because you have proven that you are the best fighter in that weight class. So you have to go to a different weight class to prove you're the best there as well. Winning 1 or 2 fights as champion does not mean that you have cleared out your own division. 3 or 4 is probably the sweet spot where like, okay, this guy is beating everybody, so now you should probably move up to get that double champ status. That's what Volk did. That's what Adesanya did. A lot of these guys had to get a few wins under the belt as champion before they got an opportunity to move up to fight somebody else. The reason Volk had a great case to move up to lightweight to fight Islam was because he's beaten everybody at featherweight. So there was pretty much no other fight that made sense besides him moving up to fight Islam. So winning one fight doesn't mean you get those special rules. So winning one fight then moving up doesn't mean you've earned it at all. MMA fans use the term legend too literally, and it's getting ridiculous. Under no circumstances should journeymen be called legends just because they have a long career in the UFC. So basically what you're debating here is what is a so-called legend. And I think a legend is a guy who has been at the very top of the sport, maybe not champion, but they at least have been like top 5, top 3, maybe have fought for a belt at one point in their career, but then they got old and things went downhill, but they're still winning in the UFC. Like I would consider Tony Ferguson a legend when he does retire because he had that super long streak of wins. But I do tend to agree, some of these guys who've just been around for a long time and then retire shouldn't be legends. Let's say like Drew Dober stays where he is right now, but he keeps on fighting and losing. Drew Dober should not be considered a legend. He should be remembered, but not as this legend of a guy who is a Hall of Fame level UFC fighter. No, he's just a guy who was in the UFC because he was good and he was bad, but not just good enough to get himself into the top 15 or top 10 and eventually fight for a belt. If you're just hanging around the division for a long time and you're winning and you're losing, but you're winning more than you're losing, but not enough to get you into the rankings, yeah, you shouldn't really be a legend. Pavlovich isn't good at all. He's just less fat than other heavyweights and swings like a fool. Now, I think Pavlovich is pretty good, but that just is heavyweight, and I think you really can't criticize Pavlovich for that. Most of heavyweight are a bunch of fat people. Let's be honest here, man. A bunch of obese men fighting here. And the fact that he isn't obese or just really fat in general just naturally makes him a good heavyweight. That's just how it is. But I think beating Curtis Blades is a good one. Like, he has nukes in his hands, but Is he the most technical guy you're ever going to see at heavyweight? No. Does he have really good footwork? No. He has a very long reach and a lot of power, and that's what carries Pavlovich. So I think he is a good heavyweight, but I think you do have a point here. Just heavyweight in general is just a very bad division, and they're all fat, let's be honest here. And they're all not good, don't have a ton of cardio, and that's just the way the landscape is. And I think that makes Pavlovich a good heavyweight because he just is in shape and has a little bit of talent and is good and has power. Stipe Miocic beats Jon Jones, so I don't want to be a dead horse here. I've already done this take multiple times now. I don't think Stipe will beat Jon Jones. Stipe is 40 years old, or will be 41 or 42 by the time he even fights Jon Jones. And I think he doesn't have it anymore. He's old, he's washed up, and I think he's pretty much done with his UFC career. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Khamzat Chimaev submits Pereira in round 1 at light heavyweight. It's possible, man. Khamzat can pretty much finish anybody in the UFC in the first round, but I think Pereira might be too big for him at that point. I mean, Khamzat is a natural middleweight. Let's be real here. I mean, he really cut down to get to welterweight, but I mean, I don't think he'll be big enough to really compete with these guys at light heavyweight. It would be way too big of a jump for him, I think. But could he finish Pereira in the first round? I think so, yeah. Would I predict it to happen? Would I pick it to happen? No way. I think he would be way too small for these light heavyweights. And I think Pereira would be able to be strong enough to stuff those takedowns just because of the size advantage he would have over Khamzat. But is it possible? 100%. I mean, the grappling skill of Khamzat in the first round is pretty much unmatched right now. Just can he hold on to that for more than one round is the real question. But that will do it. That is all I have for you guys today in this video. Thank you to everyone who submitted their hot takes. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really do. But if you did enjoy this episode of your UFC hot takes, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe just ring that bell for notifications. I'm out of here, guys. Peace.